Hey everyone, Mike here today with some thoughts here on Hardspace Shipbreaker. Before we get started, this is a pretty cool game. However, this recording is going to have a couple little problems. I need to limit my GPU usage, otherwise my voice starts getting crackly because I'm using RTX voice on a non-RTX card. And so, while loading, GPU usage goes really high sometimes as we resume the game here, so that might happen. Also, because I want a limited GPU usage, I put a frame rate limiter. Both the in-game one and external tools don't work well with this game. Alright, so GPU usage has died back down, and so yeah, I can't frame rate limit this game in a way that works well, unfortunately. So anyways, we'll start a new shift. We'll start a new ship while we're at it as well. As you can see, this is the ship I was currently working on. I can start another shift on it, but there's only a small portion left. I've salvaged most of it, and I've destroyed a decent amount of parts, but not much. Or I've incorrectly scrapped, right? I've sent them in the wrong bin. So if we look at the ships available, we've got a couple ships. Oh, ignoring that one. We've got a couple ships. The game doesn't have that many different ships overall. Instead, what it does is it takes advantage of kind of a procedural, not really procedural generation, but kind of. And so what I mean by that is as the hazard level goes up, the ships physically grow in size, there's more systems, more hazards to worry about, but they all follow kind of the same family tree. The other thing they also do is they introduce variants. So you have this heavy cargo, and then you have a tanker. And actually, this is also a heavy cargo, but this is a different kind of heavy cargo. So you can see, they share a lot of similarities in terms of design. And then the tanker here, there's ion rings instead, and then there's a lot more fuel tanks and stuff. The Atlas here, you can kind of see the same thing. This is a tug, but you can see the two boosters either side, whereas here it's in the back. And then the front portion is the same as the middle portion for the most part. And wasn't there a mackerel as well? Yeah. They're both station hoppers. Oh, there they were. There's a heavy cargo. So again, you can see, the outer kind of shielding, the sort of rectangular body. It's similar, right? You can see the family tree there. So for this one, let's try and do a small ship. The small ships are kind of fun. Actually, the tug is kind of interesting. Though I do need a distributor and a heat sink, so maybe heat sink. Is there one with both by chance? No. Well, we'll do this mackerel then. So these are a bit smaller ships. They're not worth as much, but they're also much smaller and lighter, so you can kind of salvage them faster. So, yeah, there is a concept of efficiency to a certain extent, but I would say it's not that big of a problem. The game does actually offer a free play mode, if you will. You can actually play the campaign on an easier difficulty, so you have no timer. You don't have to refill with oxygen as often. So where I started over there, this is where you buy some supplies, right? Tethers and things like that, which you'll see in just a bit. Since I'm pretty much at the end of the game, I've already completed most of the campaign, most of the missions. I have a lot of the upgrades. Yeah, I have a lot of tethers, I have a lot of demolition charges, I have a lot of oxygen, so I don't have to refill very often. So anyways, let's pretend this is maybe my first time doing this shit. The first thing I'm going to do is flip over to the scanner here. And you can kind of see all those yellow cut points. That's sort of where you want to dismantle the ship. Now, you don't have to cut all of those points, but it can help. In terms of systems here, we've got fuel running along the sides. We've got all the electrical components, which we'll play around with later. The reactor is back here and the thruster. We'll probably deal with the reactor first. And then objects if I need to salvage stuff. So I mentioned that I needed, was it a heatsink or something? I already forgot. Anyways, some of these items might have what I need to salvage. Also in this view, you can see if certain areas are pressurized or not. So that's also another important mechanic. So before we do anything, let's just see. Where's the airlocks? Am I missing? Oh, the airlock might be on this side. Yep, there's a gap here. So before we do anything, we got to get into the ship and try and depressurize it. When you first start the game, you don't have to worry about that, but that's kind of part of the progression, right? They introduce more mechanics, more hazards. The ships get bigger, you got to deal with more and more of those mechanics and hazards per ship. And then you get kind of to the end game where I'm at, where... And this ship doesn't have everything to worry about, but there's a lot of things I have to look into. There's an atmosphere regulator here, but does it work? Yes, it does. Is this actually a ship where I'm gonna... Wow, okay. So this is a ship where I could depressurize the whole thing in one go, which is fun. There are ships out there where that doesn't work, and so you're stuck manually depressurizing, right? The regulator doesn't work, or there's a lot of airlocks, so you only depressurize part of the ship, and so those become a bit of a problem to deal with.
Airlock depressurizing.
Obviously, in this case, there's a broken regulator up there. Thankfully, there aren't any doors, so we didn't have to mess around with that. If you have to manually depressurize, the problem with that is, well, which direction do you go? Do you sit in the vacuum? Do you sit on the pressurized side? Depending where you're sitting, you're going to get blown around. Items might get blown into your face, crack your visor, you'll suffocate in space. Things like that happen. Thankfully, your employer has good insurance / cloning capability, so even if you die, well, you'll be cloned anyways, and they'll just print out a new version of you. So you're very replaceable, is kind of what they're getting at. Alright, so we want to get the reactor out here, because the reactor is usually the most valuable part of these ships, and so to do so, we need a little bit of room to play with. So I'm going to cut the back end of the ship out. I gotta be cautious, there are fuel lines everywhere, and if I nick them with this laser, they'll catch fire and explode pretty quickly. So we'll have to either empty out those fuel lines, or empty them out actually. We don't have much of a choice. Or we can blow them up and lose a lot of potential revenue. So yeah, despite being a late level, late game level at this point, this is still a relatively easy ship, hence why the payment is fairly low. Because, you can just go about it really quickly. This is just a class 1 reactor, so all I gotta do is pull it out and huck it in the bin. Also, this crate fires, so you gotta throw it in the bin as well pretty quick. And by the bin, I mean this is the barge. The barge is where you put in the fuel tanks. A lot of the outer skin of ships will go into the processor, and then most of the inner bits, like in orange here, go to the smelter. Alright, so are there fuel valves anywhere? Yeah, there's a fuel flush there. So this is how I disarm most of the piping. So this will flush out the piping. You'll notice it's not glowing on this side. However, this side of the ship, the piping is still glowing. Yeah, there you go. You can see the lights and stuff. So I'll have to flush the fuel on this side too. But the tanks themselves are still charged, so I'll have to pull the tanks out and remove them from the ship. Which will do that. Maybe not right now. Yeah, I think the way to do this. I think the way to do this is to pull the side off. Because I don't think I can cut that pipe. I can cut the pipes above though. So I'm safe to do that now that the pipes are depressurized. Just cut these side bits off. Gotta get the fuel out. Okay, one's free. And I gotta be careful about the fuel tank here. Oh, this sucks. I don't have an easy way to get in there, do I? I gotta position myself in a way where I'm not gonna nick the tank when I cut. Good. So here. I can grab this piece out. So yeah, there's a lot of just procedures and kind of like I was hinting to earlier in the loading or the preparation for this mission. Like, it's all about just learning the ships as you get further and further into the game. You know, they're very gradual about introducing new mechanics, new ships, and mixing them together, and so on and so forth. I think they've done a pretty good job at that. It would be nice to see a little bit more variety eventually. My understanding is the devs have talked about ships in this game being quite involved and difficult to create, so I get why there's maybe not as much variety. Also, for the sake of balancing, right? It'd be tough to just introduce a ton of new ships constantly and not like have players get completely lost every time you introduce a new ship, because it's got mechanics that are very different than other ships in the game. So there is like a learning aspect to it as well. So yeah, this ship in particular is a little bit interesting in how it's kind of doesn't have a inner and outer hull. It is kind of one and the same. So it does make it quite easy to actually break apart. Even though I am taking my time here. Alright, so what's holding this? Oh, yeah. The fuel pipe's up here. Oh, asteroid shard. That's cool. Never seen that before. And holy moly, it's heavy. Thankfully, I have fairly high levels of gear, so I can afford to move a lot of these things manually. If it wasn't for all the upgrades that I had, moving a lot of these objects would be actually kind of difficult. Okay, that released that.
5 minutes left, Cutter. You know what you're doing? Okay.
I probably have to release the entire I probably have to release the entire side of the ship, which is normally what I would do. I want to try and get these tanks out, but I don't think that's happening. So let's work on filters in the way. Can't sneak underneath, but I can just make sure there's nothing too far. Oh, there's a fuel tank over there. So I'm gonna stop cutting. I can't cut these guys. Yeah, you can kind of see how, it's a bit of a challenge trying to navigate your way outside and around and trying to access some of these difficult places to cut. There's a lot of debris and stuff that wants to go down to the barge. So if I actually just take out the floor supports, we can pop out the floor, and that'll make it really easy. Once the floor's popped out, I can just grab these things and throw them down. So that makes that a little bit more trivial. Oh, maybe now that I cut up there, can I? Yeah, there we go. Okay, and the side did pop out. It was just really stiff. It was really stuck in there. Ooh. Yeah, that's the game in a nutshell, really. Different ships, like I said, there's different things to worry about. Some of them, you have fuel valve. You have to damage stuff, race your way to the fuel valve before it explodes. Some of the other ones, the reactor will be like cryogenically cooled, so you gotta take off the cryo cooling and then race back to the reactor and get it out before it explodes. Different ships have different challenges, and I think overall they've done a pretty good job making it all generally pretty interesting or unique. I think these logs are actually what's holding the side in. Yeah. Okay, because you could tell the total weight is 2,300 kilos. This is 43,000. So 43,000 tells me it's still tied to the main ship is still tied in. So we can pull this one out. And I think I need to delete the next junction, and I could pull this one out. Yeah, there you go. That radiation filter is just another example of dangerous stuff you have to deal with. I can't knock it around, I can't be too aggressive with it. It'll release a lot of radioactive material, which will hurt you a lot.
You've got 1 minute left.
So we'll slot it out and then just let it get pulled. There we go. It's worth a lot of money too, so it's you don't want to destroy it if at all possible. And so yeah, that's pretty much all of this game in a nutshell. I don't really have too much else to add at this point. It has been available in early access for a couple of years now. It recently hit 1.0. I'm playing the Game Pass version because it launched on Game Pass. But you can pick it up on Steam. Like I said, it's been in early access. The Steam version is 44 Canadian or 35 US. I think it's a pretty good game for what it is. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun playing it so far. So I do recommend it if you're into this kind of thing. I do wish there's a little bit more variety though, like I said, but at the same time, if you have Game Pass, you can play it on there. And it sounds like now that they've launched, they have mentioned that, yeah, we'll look into adding more stuff. They wanted to get the game out and actually have a final 1.0 release before promising too much.
Your theta wave levels are high.
But like I said, it
Please
sounds like
administer 2
it's
caffeine pods before starting your shift.
it's still a pretty time-consuming thing to build ships for this game specifically. But yeah, we didn't see me doing any of the horizontal or vertical cutting. You can cut down the ship into a lot of tiny pieces But really you want to precisely cut as much as possible because you don't want to deal with a lot of small debris. But it's a bunch of upgrades here. I want to buy my own demo charges to get rid of the rental fees. But a lot of the upgrades are pretty straightforward, right? More distance for the pinpoint mode and the wide mode. I could use it more, quicker cooldowns, less damage or higher, less wear when you use it. This is the gravity gun that I was using, so stronger tethers, stronger pushes, longer lasting tethers. Again, more range to pick up and move stuff around. Thrusters, scanner. The scanner works over long range. Again, pretty straightforward stuff. So I think we'll end it there. There is a story I hinted at. It ties stuff together. It was not needed, but I appreciate that it was there because it was kind of entertaining. And so, yeah, we'll end it here. And I'll see you guys next week with some other game.